She played Emmeline Vance in Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. She won an award for her performance as Amelia Holland in David is Dying. She joined fellow Bond alums Benicio Del Toro, Max von Sydow, and Art Malik in The Wolfman. And she's played Dr. Vogel in the James Bond movies SPECTRE and No Time to Die. We are pleased to have a very special guest, Brigitte Millar, on today's Cracking the Code of Spy Movies show. Welcome, Brigitte.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too. This is fun.
Definitely our pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Thank you for inviting me. Delighted.
Oh, it's our pleasure completely. This is a thrill to talk to you. We love you and all your stuff you've done. We've watched a lot of your stuff. All right. So before we begin the Bond stuff, we always find it interesting to see how an actor becomes involved in acting in the first place and how you, Brigitte, became involved in acting. And did you always want to be an actor?
Actually, no, I didn't. After my A-levels, I grew up in Europe and Germany. So we do A-levels. And I wanted to study art. And my parents said, no, that's not going to bring any money. And so I studied languages and worked as a translator and personal assistant for some time, and then realized that office work wasn't for me. And so I retrained completely, went into the fitness industry, became a fitness instructor, and then later on fitness manager, running a department in a large fitness club.
Wow. And
was made redundant from my job, moping around the house, sobbing down the telephone to my brother, saying, I don't know what I'm going to do. And my brother said, and I've sort of looked at he said, well, this is your opportunity to do something artistic. And I looked at various things, wanted to do dance, and the dance course was full up. And my brother said, well, there's this acting course. Why don't you do acting? And I was like, I don't know. In the end, I joined the acting class, and the rest, as they say, is history. And I liked it. I then went off to train at drama college and then went off to become an actor.
Wow.
We're very glad you did.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So you became an actor. And so let's kind of look at your filmography a little bit to talk about some of the stuff you've done prior to the Bond movies. So you started out with two big budget movies. You were in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Is there anything about those two movies that you want to talk about? Anything about your experience doing either of those?
I mean, it was great. Harry Potter is such a lovely franchise. Everybody, the people that work there are just absolutely amazing. They're the best of the best, and they're really, really nice people to work with. Really lovely. I had such a wonderful time. I will never forget. I mean, it was great. It was like one great big family. Really. Everyone is looking out for each other. And it was great.
And you got to fly on a broomstick.
Exactly, and that was actually at first. When I've heard that I was going to fly on a broomstick and they explained to me how it was going to work, it's on a big 6-foot crane. It's like the broomstick sits on a large crane.
Okay.
And obviously it's quite high up. 6 foot is quite high up. And they said, oh, don't worry. There are mattresses on the floor. And I'm, okay. And then obviously you get strapped into the seat. You have like in the car, you have a seat belt so you don't fall out of your seat. Yeah, it was green screen, and you get a little tennis ball on a stick that sort of moves. And look, wherever the tennis ball goes, that's where your eyes go. And I was really worried about being that high up, but it was fine. It was absolutely fine. And I had a great time. Once I got used to it, it was an absolute pleasure to do. It was really fun to sort of like go and dive and and it moves and goes up and down and left and right. It was brilliant. Fun, absolute fun to do. Yeah.
First time you did that kind of thing? Where you were Oh, wow. Yeah. That had to be a little scary.
The first couple of minutes were a bit scary, but then once you get used to it, it's fine. It's actually great fun.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Okay, so let's move then into David is Dying. You won a Best Actress Award at the Los Angeles New Wave International Film Festival for your role as Amelia. And that was a pretty emotional role. So how did you work up for that?
To be quite honest, I did a little bit of research on psychiatrists and psychologists.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, how would I react if I was a psychologist or psychiatrist having a client like that? And that got me into it immediately. For some things, there isn't really a lot of time to prepare because sometimes the director will spring something on you because we had a scene planned and he then I prepared for it and he scrapped it completely. The morning I came on to set, he said, actually, we're not going to do that now. We're going to do this now. And I was like, okay, all right. And then you just have to launch yourself into it. So, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Then you were in a movie that was a little more bizarre called Walking with the Ferryman. And I thought this was a really good independent movie, but it had probably the strangest 5-minute opening that I've ever seen. with that guy being chased with the I don't even know what you call the other characters, the other people that were dressed
Goblin
up.
type people,
Yeah.
I would say, yeah.
That was a little bit bizarre for me, but the movie, I thought it was really good because your role in it kind of tied the two worlds together, which I thought was fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, playing a psychic and sort of seeing things that aren't really there is actually quite interesting to make that happen and to make that real on screen. It's actually quite a challenge, actually.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about ghosts and various other things that are not in the real world, apparitions.
And it was well done because you'd be starting to talk about something where somebody wasn't there and then all of a sudden they're there as you're talking about them. I thought that was really neat.
Yeah. You've also done short movies. You've done like 5 short movies, including a pretty funny one, The Student's Mother and Psyche, the prologue.
Yeah.
Your scene in that just made me smile ear to ear. I mean, it's just like you were so fantastic in it. I mean, the short itself was funny, but then you walked in with that dress, which, by the way, you look fantastic in that dress.
Oh, thank you.
That was terrific. I mean, there had to be like a little nod to Mrs. Robinson in The Graduate there, that interplay, right?
Absolutely. That's exactly what I had in mind. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. That's perfect. And you deliver your lines so effortlessly and knowingly. Was that as much fun to film as it was to watch? Because
it was just one of those little passion projects when you're helping a director that's trying to get his film funded and you just join in and, to make it happen.
Yeah.
If you're I would say any actor or, you want to give back when you've had some good films and if good things happen to you, you want to give back to the community. You want to help other people along the way.
Yeah, sure. That's nice. It's nice when you do that too. That's great stuff.
That was really, and I loved the shot from behind. Just like in The Graduate, there that was fun.
Yeah, it was.
It was great fun to do.
Your most recent short was Knox, and which was written and directed by a 19-year-old, which was amazing.
Oh, Sheikh Ali Shahi, yeah. It took me a while to be able to say that. Yeah.
That was an amazing 12 minutes to watch. I mean, that was terrific. The acting, the cinematography, obviously the direction, all was top-notch. In fact, you and your fellow actor, Matt Passmore, Caven, the composers, you had just multiple awards for this movie, right?
Very surprising. I didn't expect that at all. That was a complete surprise to me.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And your facial expressions and your body movement really make the scene. It's like in SPECTRE, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Tell us a little bit about that experience, because that was a cool movie. It was like 12 minutes, right?
Yeah, despite the fact that it is a short film, it actually does a lot. It does convey a lot and say a lot. That alone is an art form. To be able to do that in a short film is amazing. Yeah, Matt Passmore, fantastic actor, lovely person, amazing to work with. Kayvon, very, very good to work with. He gives you a lot of creative freedom and very enjoyable, hugely enjoyable experience. Yeah.
I mean, he was like 19 years old, I think, at the time, right? And how was that? How was his direction? How did that work? Did he know a lot of stuff at 19? It looked like it.
He does not, because he did a short film before that called Vesper.
Yes.
So obviously he had experience, and he showed me Vesper, and I really liked Vesper. I thought it was a great film.
Okay.
And so I had complete confidence in him. I trust him completely. So yeah, it was a really, really enjoyable experience to work with Kayvon and his team, and of course Matt Passmore, who is a very seasoned, absolutely fantastic actor.
Yeah. He's from Australia, right? I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I think he's known for The Glades and one of the Saw movies as well.
Okay. Yeah. He was really good in it too, as well.
Well, and I want to go back, Dan. You made the comment about your facial expressions, everything. When I don't want to give away any of what happens here, but there's something where you do something fairly dramatic, and then you just kind of pause and lean against the wall, and the look on your face was just like, yes.
Yeah.
Smile.
The way I see this character, she is, because we don't really know who these two people are.
Right.
We have to all work all of that out for ourselves.
Yes.
Which I think sometimes can be quite challenging in when you're having to sort of fill in the gaps yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I see her as both Claire as well as a hit woman. This is for me, this is like a PR to the senator, Claire Winters, who lights as a hit woman occasionally. And so that's how I got into the character.
Well, it was very well done. I really liked that.
That was a terrific short. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was a great little short. Everybody should find that and watch it. It's terrific.
So have you made up your mind then? What do you think? What's your opinion
Of what's happening in the movie?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is confusing. I had to watch it a few times, but I think this is what the senator would like to have happened to his wife and his vengeance for what she did, and that this is a scenario in his mind, in your mind.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Is that what's going on?
That's exactly how I saw it. I thought this is something that's a fantasy that he's entertaining whilst he's sorting out his life and going his political career, etc., etc. This is something that he's sort of toying with, but he's not serious about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. When I first saw it, I thought it was kind of a Christopher Nolan kind of a time shift thing initially, that maybe we were watching it backwards. But then when I watched it again, the look on his face in the car kind of says, wait a minute, maybe this first part was just him thinking, boy, this is what I'd like to do.
Yeah. And then when he's walking back to the house and you see her in the window, you think, okay, all right, maybe that is true. That's exactly what.
First time through, I was like, what?
Yeah, I know. I had to watch it a few times. I was like, okay, all right. And I liked it more and more, actually, the more I watch it. And everything, the settings, the lighting, everything was just beautiful.
It was surprisingly, it was a huge set, and it was a huge crew as well. It was almost like the crew of a bigger budget movie without the big budget, so to speak. It was I think there were 60 odd people working on it all together.
Wow, that's a lot. We were going to ask you, you've done full feature movies and many short movies. And what are the differences as an actor working between the big movies versus the smaller format movies? And you just were touching on it. It's like they had a lot of people for this short one.
I love both. I love the big franchises like Harry Potter and obviously Bond and all these Mission Impossible and Star Wars, Star Trek, all of that. I love all of them. I think they're brilliant. And it's great to work on a big budget set, but it's also fun to work on an independent feature film because I think it gives you a little bit more of an opportunity to bring your own ideas to the director, where on a big budget set, the director may or may not have time for that. It may not want to take time. Some do, like Sam Mendes and Cary Fukunaga. They are interested and they love working with actors, and others may perhaps not be thus inclined. So on an indie film, you have more of an opportunity to work closer with the director. And, like I was working with Kayvon and various other independent film directors and saying, oh, I think, what about this? And oh, what about that? And they say, oh yeah, let's try that. And they're very open to trying different things, which I think is important. It's very important. Yeah.
Well, especially for somebody like Kayvon to try different things he's got to appreciate that too. It's like, okay, let me think about this differently than I had. I'm starting out. I'm trying to figure out how all this works. So
yeah.
And it's interesting, the interaction between the directors and the actors and in the small versus the large films and so on.
Sometimes there is a difference. Sometimes there isn't. I mean, I was very lucky with Sam Mendes and extremely lucky, I have to say. I mean, what can I say? It's a privilege.
He's a good guy. All right, let's shift to your role in the latest 2 James Bond movies then. You've played Dr. Vogel in Spectre and in No Time to Die. And we understand from other interviews you've given that you've been a Bond fan for a long, long time, right?
Since I was a little girl, actually,
Yeah, so what was the first Bond movie?
Watching them on television, who would have thought that I'd be in one?
Yeah, I know. I was going to ask you. It's like being a Bond fan and then being in 2 of the movies has to be like a thrill.
Well, especially since you didn't start out thinking you were going to be an actor. So that's kind of really cool. What a nice twist.
Yeah. So that's pretty good. So how did you get to be Dr. Vogel? I mean, was that an audition process? Was the auditioning
process? Yeah, and thankfully for me, it was a short audition process.
Oh, it was.
I'm sure you're aware sometimes actors have to audition several times and they get a call back and then they get another call back and another call back. And you think, oh, this is really strenuous. And because obviously nerves play a role as well, as I'm sure people can appreciate.
Yeah.
So one audition, my agent got me that audition. And they didn't actually give me the speech I was going to do in the movie. They gave me some other speech.
Oh.
And I did that speech. And then the casting director, Debbie McWilliams, she said, oh, you're far too beautiful to be a villainess. Can you go to the bathroom and wipe off all your makeup? And I was like, okay. I went to the bathroom, tried to wipe it all off as best I could, come back in, do the speech again. Then they said, oh, thank you, that's great. And I went away and 10 days later, I heard that I booked the role. But it was 10 10 sleepless nights. I was almost going to say pacing and probably being very nervous, waiting to hear back. Basically.
Oh, sure. I would imagine the waiting is got to be the worst part.
The worst.
You think you've done well. And
it's the worst.
Yeah. It's like waiting for a medical exam report or something. It's like, I hope it's all going to be good.
I did the thing. Now I got to find out what happened. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty well. So the role you auditioned for, was going to be a completely different role than Dr. Vogel?
No, it was the role. They just didn't call it. I'm not sure what they called the character, if it was Dr. Vogel, but it was not the speech because obviously they keep things secret. They don't divulge anything. So it was a different speech.
Okay. Interesting.
So they have to write the audition scripts as well as the regular scripts.
Is that typical how they do that for auditions?
Yeah, they do. The big budget projects do that.
Oh, wow. That's fun. I mean, interesting. It's got to be tense.
Yeah. Oh, God.
So when you were auditioning, I mean, who's watching you?
It's the casting director and the person behind the camera, and then possibly yet another person who might be the reader.
Okay. All right. So
guys, two to three people. Yeah.
Okay, so like Barbara Broccoli's not hanging around, or Michael G. Wilson, or okay, that's just interesting because you are there, and the nerves have to be tremendous, especially for a Bond movie. I mean, yikes.
Well, and especially for this kind of a role, she's one of the stern woman villains.
Yes.
More in the Rosa Klebb or Irma Bunt role.
Exactly. That's what she's based on. I imagine she would be Rosa Klebb and Irma Bunt's granddaughter, carrying on their good work and carrying on in their footsteps. Yeah.
Did you get any background on them before or between?
I watched a couple of scenes with Rosa Klebb and Irma Bunt. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's because I see her as a descendant of those two formidable ladies.
Yep.
Interesting. And
you're talking about them as a descendant. I actually thought that whole scene was a descendant of the earlier Bond movies.
Oh, it was.
With the Blofeld. I mean, it just really felt old school on this. Really, that set was fantastic.
Yes.
Getting in that set, filming this thing, how'd that go for you? I mean, how long did it take to do? Were you nervous getting into this thing? At
first, I was really, really nervous, because obviously there were about 150 plus people on set at any given time. Huge set, as I'm sure you can see from this. And it's actually quite nerve-wracking when about 150 people stare at you. And it is quite nerve-wracking, Yeah.
Well, especially, I mean, they really had you center stage. You were towards the center of the table. You were sitting closer to the table than anybody else was. I mean, it was like, this part is about you. And that was pretty cool.
And the whole setting was terrific. The room, the shadows, the color palette of the room, everything. It looked both warm and foreboding at the same time, which when you're giving your speech, by the way, which is terrific. I mean, we loved your speech. When you were interrupted, of course, by Blofeld entering the room, what was it like sitting there and seeing Ernest Stavro Blofeld enter the room? I mean, we have to remember.
It was very scary.
I bet. We hadn't seen him since like 81 or something. So as a Bond fan, we're watching. It's like, oh, man, this is the big reveal. You're in the big reveal. Yeah, that had to be pretty cool.
And I actually wrote that speech myself because they gave me an English speech.
Okay.
they said either we can hire a translator and translate it for you, or you can translate it yourself. So I translated it myself, and I changed the sentence structures a little bit because I thought she's a scientist.
Did you tell them you were doing that, or did you say, yeah, here's the German version?
I just said, here's the German version.
Okay.
Now, they asked you for a German version, or was that your idea?
Yeah, no, they asked me for a German version.
Okay, and then you did something to the text.
Yeah, I thought the sentences were a little bit too long. You know, sometimes there's a sentence in a sentence in a sentence in a sentence. By the end of the sentence,
yes,
you've forgotten what the beginning of the sentence said. So I thought maybe for the viewers, it would be better to have something short and punchy.
Yes. And actually, and for scientists would be more boom, zoom in on exactly what they have to say.
That was exactly my thought process. Exactly.
Oh, really? Because I thought that was brilliant. That part was terrific. And the other brilliant part, really, this is one of my favorite scenes that you have done here. When you stand up when Blofeld comes in, you very properly tug down on your jacket to make it smooth, nice and smooth and presentable. People would not notice that, but I noticed it, and I thought that is brilliant, because what a touch that was. And then your eyes are kind of going down to the table in deference to Blofeld coming in. I mean, was perfect, Brigitte. Perfect.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know anyone noticed.
Yeah,
we did.
We did. I mean,
that's amazing.
Did his presence coming in, did that rattle you, and did you want it to rattle you so that you could get into the character role better?
Yeah, I mean, it was scary. I was really, really scared at that point, because he is the man who can decide my fate, basically.
Yes.
As we've seen him do in other movies.
Yeah, he hasn't been too kind. He hasn't been too kind in other movies to agents that didn't do well.
That's very true.
Agent 9 and Thunderball, and of course you got Kronstein and From Russia with Love and whatever. So so is that part of your process in preparing for a role, Brigitte, that you're thinking, okay, this is the kind of character this guy is, and I'm at risk here a little bit because I'm a Spectre agent? And does that kind of...
I was very well aware that he could obviously terminate me at any point in time, so I thought I'd better make sure that I've got the situation under control. Yeah,
and at the very end of it, you say, "We're winning." That was your last words. I thought in that moment you believed it, that you were winning, but you were trying to convince him and everyone else also that you're, and you're a little nervous about that. And was he going to accept that you were winning?
Yeah.
So that part I thought was great too. It's like,
and I love the way you delivered it, because when you were giving that report, most of the time you were looking down at what I'm going to call the power end of the table, where Blofeld eventually comes and sits, but that's probably where the power people are sitting in a meeting like that. Mm-hmm. And you're looking down there for almost the entire time you're speaking until you say that we are winning, at which point you just look around to the whole group of people assembled like, yes, people, we're winning. Now, was that direction, or was that just what you did with the character? It was just
me. I only had one note from Sam Mendes, and other than that, I was able to do what I wanted.
Yeah. Really? I thought that was, because it was just kind of like, here to the power people, but then to everybody, we are winning. I just thought that was great.
Yeah, I mean, you were saying it confidently, and you were saying it to see, okay, is everyone buying into this, and looking around at everybody's reaction, which was brilliant. So what was the one thing Sam Mendes gave you a note?
He just wanted me to be a little bit more flustered when Blofeld came.
Well, you did terrific at that, because
you did.
I was nervous for you. I was like, man, this is scary.
Well, very especially with the history we've seen, it's like, okay, she's going to get it in this scene. We know it. You didn't. You survived.
Yeah.
So, all right. So after you're done with your speech, we get the scene, and there's the scene with Hinks where he eliminates Guerra. You look back at your papers, and the look on your face on this one, because I really like to watch actors' expressions when they've got something to happen. And he gets done killing Guerra, and you look down at your papers, and you had this kind of like that wasn't very pleasant look on your face.
Thank God it wasn't me.
Yeah, really. Well, and also many of the people, almost everybody in the room, looked at Hinks but you were one of the few that didn't. You looked down, you didn't look around, but you said a lot without verbally saying anything with the way you did that. And I thought that was really good.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff, the little things tugging down the jacket, the eyes and everything else, it adds so much dimension to the scene that a lot of people will not see because they're just watching the main character, Hank's, poking out the eyes and whatever. But that kind of stuff adds to the richness of the scene. And it's so fun to see it. So thank you for that.
Yes, absolutely.
It's good stuff.
All right, finally, the last part of this scene, we've got Bond throwing the henchman Lorenzo over the balcony and onto the table right in front of where you were.
Yeah.
And so how many takes did that thing take? And can you kind of talk a little bit about that shot?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it was obviously the entire scene is broken up, I think, into 4 or 5 different parts because you don't film it all in one day or even, in 1 week. So they had to break it up into different sections and film at different times.
Okay.
And we also had multiple, at some point we had multiple cameras, one from the top, one from the bottom, one from the right, one from the left, and sort of diagonally from the back, left and right as well, to film everything from all angles, so to speak. Wow. And this henchman, he obviously had a stunt guy doing the fall from the balcony. Wow. And he was the stunt man was attached to, he had a harness and he was attached to some sort of scaffold, and obviously a metal wire was attached to him, so he would like fall down in a straight line onto the table, and on the table there was a mat, and he would just have to turn his face at the very last second so not to fall onto his nose.
Oh my
God. Precision is all planned down to the last detail.
So he actually hit the mat. It wasn't kind of like what we see in Mission Impossible where Ethan's on that cable and it stops him.
Real. Everything is real. And he would just have to know when to turn the head.
Stunt people are crazy.
They're a different breed.
Yes, they are. You got to appreciate what they do because that was great. So you were there for that whole filming of that.
Yeah, some of it, some I was there, but other times, obviously, they would just film the stunt. And we had to also get out of the way because you can't be too close to the scene in case something goes wrong.
Yeah. Anything else in Spectre that we didn't talk about that you'd like to bring in? Because we would be happy to hear any other tidbits or stories.
Yes, I'm just always impressed by the creativity and the professionalism of the people that work on these big budget movies, because there's so much detail, so much love to detail. Everybody always gives their best. So yeah, I'm always impressed with that. It's fantastic.
All right, let's go to No Time to Die. We think back in 2018, you said something like you'd like to be in another Bond film, and wow, there you are. You're in No Time to Die a few years later. Well, long time for us Bond fans later, but a few years later. So that was pretty neat. So how did that come about? How did you get that into that role in No Time to Die? How did that happen?
Well, I think it was because obviously No Time to Die has to wrap up all the little things that were left open in Spectre, because it was going to be Daniel Craig's last Bond movie. And so I had a feeling that I might possibly come back, because obviously they had to still address the Spectre issues that were still hanging sort of in midair and had to be tidied up. So yeah, I had a feeling that at some point that I might be able to come back.
Yeah. And was there an audition? No, there was no audition for that, right? You just like, hey, bring her in. This is great. Yeah. And when you got that call, how did you feel?
I felt really great. I was actually on a train that I saw the email from Debbie McWilliams asking me if I'd like to come back. And I was like, yes, of course. So I emailed her back.
Like you're going to say no to that.
I was going to say no to that.
No, that would not be a good thing, saying no to that. That was terrific. And you're standing next to Bond in the scene when everything's happening, and that's pretty cool. So right.
How long did it take to film that scene, that birthday party scene? Because there's a lot going on, and I imagine film just cut up. But
it was a week, 7 days, I think.
Wow. 7 days to film that scene that seems like it's 2 or 3 minutes maybe in the movie, I think. Wow. That's the amazing thing, I think, when us non-acting people, we hear stuff like that, it took 7 days to film that scene, and it's like, wow. But there's a lot of people in it, and everything has to be perfect, and it was. I mean, it was a beautiful scene, and as the audience is watching, you're wondering what the heck is going on. So I mean, they did exactly what they intended to do, intrigue us and make us wonder again what's going on, which is terrific. So wow, 7 days that's pretty amazing.
Your character here, she meets her demise, and so I don't think I've seen you die in any of your other movies. So
nope, that was a first for me.
That was your first on-screen death. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Quite fun, actually. Yeah. Do you remember that we all had these ugly little spots and things on our face? That was actually a really tricky and long makeup to do. That was actually because you have to remember that it hardens. So when the makeup artist applies a base on the face, on which then the other liquid goes that solidifies, you're not allowed later on to pull it off yourself. So when you get to the end of the day before you go home, you have to go into hair and makeup and have this crusty type makeup taken off. They actually take a cloth and soak it in a special liquid and put it on your face so that they can then take this crusty stuff off, because if you pull it, you rip off your skin, because it's actually, it really attaches to your face, so it doesn't move around.
Yeah.
Hardens like a mask almost.
Yes.
And obviously you have to be careful. You can't just do a little bit, sort of pull at it and all of that. And you have to actually wait until they take it off for you. And make
how long did it take? Because you're all in the same boat. Everybody's got this stuff on their face. So how long did it take from the time
it took about just under an hour.
Wow.
And how many times
to take off?
How many times did you have to have it applied? Just once?
No, I think it was over 3 days.
Oh my gosh. So every day.
I had it put on 3 times and take off 3 times. Yeah.
Wow. So you've got to sit there while they put it on you. It has to dry. You go to the scene, and then you got. None
of this takes 7 days.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, and the other thing that was really interesting was when we're all falling to the ground, we had stunt people on set, because I was in high heels and an evening dress. So how do you break fall in high heels and an evening dress? Yes. And the floor, which is something people often don't know. We did practice break falling somewhere else with proper mats, but then when you actually do it on the scene, it's always different. The floor was really damp and slippery.
Oh.
So I asked for a stunt person, and the stunt man, he was obviously wearing his smoking and then underneath padding. So he would stand really close to me, and I would put my arms around his shoulders, and he would then break fall and take me with him. So I would fall on top of him to cushion my fall so I wouldn't hurt myself. And that was I think we did that about, I don't know, 6, 7, possibly 8 times. And that was quite something as well, because it was falling to the ground on a stone floor that is damp and slippery.
Yeah.
And freezing cold in the hole. I was chilled to the bone. It's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to do. So no. I was glad I had a stunt man who was.
I mean, there are a lot of people falling, and did anyone get injured that you know of?
No, thankfully nobody got injured.
Oh, that's great, because that would be hard to do. That would be a hard scene to film, falling on a hard surface like that. So that's
well, especially 6 or 7 times. I mean, after like the 3rd time, I'd be like, okay, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, fun stuff though.
Yeah,
when it's all done, it looks beautiful when it's all done, right? It's
it's a great scene. I hear it's supposedly already one of the iconic Bond scenes.
Yeah.
Yes, it should be. It should be. It really is. It's the culmination of so much, and in so much history in the whole Bond movies with Spectre and everything else. It is one of those scenes that will be remembered forever. So, and you're in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you knew, when you filmed this, that there were people that died and you were one of them. Did you know any of the rest of the plot, or was it just you just got enough to be able to do your scene?
I just had the scene. I didn't get the whole script.
So trying to put it together in your mind had to be kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess that's generally the case then, right? People are getting their part and they don't know the whole story yet.
Most of the time, they don't know the whole story. No.
Oh, wow. Well, that's kind of tough, and I guess makes sense because they don't want everybody spilling the beans on what's going on before the movie comes out. But as you're the character in there, it kind of makes it tougher in a sense, doesn't it? Because you don't know the whole story.
Because you don't know what leads up to the scene. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. All right.
Right. So something that kind of fascinates me, just kind of because I'm weird, but kind of fascinates me here is that with the pandemic and the hold on that movie, you filmed that scene sometime in 2019, correct?
October 2019.
Yeah. So you had a 2-year wait from the time you filmed it to the time it came out. With the way the press is and with the way your friends are, going like, when is this thing going to come out? Tell me about what happened to you in this thing. How do you remain silent on that long?
Sign a non-disclosure form. That's how you remain silent.
So there's lots of that in your contract, right?
What kind of penalties do they put in the contract on that? I mean, how does it work?
Non-disclosure is basically what it says, that you don't disclose anything.
Wow.
Yeah. Or the penalties could be severe, I would assume. Yeah. And of course, that wouldn't be good for your acting career.
I just can imagine friends in there. Come on, what happens?
No, they knew. I told them I signed a non-disclosure, and they just shut up, basically, because they knew there wasn't going to be any information forthcoming.
Sure. And it really, it kept squeaky clean for all this time. There really weren't any major leaks or anything. So that was really well done. That was great. Would you like to be in another Bond movie and maybe
I would love to be in another Bond movie.
Yeah, playing a different character? What kind of a character would you like to play? You were a pretty stern, mean, vicious one in this one.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe a psychopathic villainess.
Oh.
That's good.
That would be good. That would be good.
Yep.
Yeah.
But Bond has had some psychopathic villains and villainesses, I would say. Yeah, so that would. Yeah.
I think it's time for a good villainess, and you'd be a great one.
Yeah, so do I. I think I would be the right one. Yeah.
Terrific. So you would come back for another Bond movie. Would you be interested in another spy movie like Mission Impossible or something?
Absolutely. I would love Mission Impossible. I actually auditioned for a Mission Impossible a year or so prior to SPECTRE, I think, for Rogue Nation, and it was neck and neck with myself and another actress. And because my role was playing an Austrian lady, the blonde and blue-eyed lady got the part. And I mean, very deservedly. So she's fantastic. She's beautiful. She's smart. She's a fantastic actress. But it was neck and neck between myself and her.
Okay.
Mission Impossible, fantastic. Yeah, I would love it. Brilliant franchise.
Yes, they're doing a great job. I think they're the second best behind Bond with what they're doing. And you see this whole shift in the spy movie genre now that's kind of more action oriented rather than the spy kind of stuff we saw early on in the Fleming novels and in some of the early Bond movies. But that's what's selling and that's what people want to see. And Mission Impossible has done a fabulous job on that. Just terrific. Cruise and company are doing great.
He's fantastic. Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah. So, well, that's good. You should get in one of those. I think that'd be great to see you in the Mission Impossible movie. I'll give Tom Cruise a call.
Please do. Yeah, I could be his handler, telling him you've got to go to Rome and do this.
Yes. Yeah. That would be good.
That would be good. Yeah. All right. So as we're moving off of Bond here, let's talk about, Brigitte, your future as you're going forward and what I would think with the pandemic, things are just all in flux, but I know you've done some work or are getting ready to do some work on Never Can Say Goodbye.
Yeah.
What else is in your pipeline? I've
got several things in America in the pipeline. As I don't know whether you had a chance to have a look at my IMDb.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for something. I mean, they're all good projects. I'm super excited about all of them. I'm just waiting for them to get greenlit, and I've got my green card now. I'm ready to rock and roll, basically. Call me up, tell me, email me, tell me, and I'm ready to go. Yeah.
Great. Well, we look forward to you being in more.
Yeah, me too. You should be. You're terrific. You're terrific.
I've got in England, I've got some things in the pipeline as well, and also waiting to hear.
Yes.
At the moment, things are still a little bit in flux, I would say.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't know what the situation is. I've not been to the States for a little while. I'm not sure what the film and TV industry is like in the States at the moment. I hear that things are picking up now, so fingers crossed. Yeah, but they're making things in the US now. They're shooting in the US.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'd be coming over in spring next year. COVID permitting, obviously, and fingers crossed that everything. I would love to. I'm ready to work in the US now. I'm ready to, go global. Basically, I work in Europe. I work in England.
Great.
And I'd love to come over to the US and do some work there. Yeah.
Yeah, we welcome you to. That'd be terrific.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I mean, obviously, the only thing that is now at the forefront of people's mind is, will the Bond franchise continue? And if so, what is the future of the Bond franchise? How will things progress from here on?
Yeah. What do you think?
I think they're really going to take it properly into the 21st century.
Okay.
Meaning?
A very modern Bond, I would say.
Okay.
No more isms, no sexism, no racism, none of the things that we thankfully now have put behind us and are past. I think it'll be a proper 21st century Bond. At least that's what I'm hoping, because I think already with the title songs, if you look back on the title songs of the Bond movies, Sam Smith, even Adele, Sam Smith and now Billie Eilish are very contemporary, very cutting edge artists.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe, are they trying to tell us something? Are they now taking the Bond franchise into a slightly different direction? Who knows?
Yes.
I think if you go by the title songs,
they've always done that, though.
It seems like they have taken the most popular kind of artists at the time for the title songs and so on. But I think they have
the type of song, the tone and the message of the song has changed a little bit. I think even when you look at Adele, is still more the slightly classic, old style Bond song. But when you then come to Sam Smith and most certainly Billie Eilish, that is a different type of Bond song altogether compared with GoldenEye or License to Kill or Moonraker or For Your Eyes Only.
Right,
that's a different type of song, and she's a different type of artist as well.
Yeah, and I think through the whole Daniel Craig era too, they've shifted a lot from first Casino Royale to now, and versus anything in the past.
Yeah.
You like Daniel Craig, right? You liked him as Bond,
for me, he's the best Bond ever.
Okay, that's good. All right, so he beats Sean Connery out, huh? Okay.
I do like Sean Connery, but I think it was time for a really strong, gritty, realistic James Bond.
Yes,
even for the franchise to continue and to appeal to the younger generation. Because let's face it, that's what they're trying to do, or that's what they are doing, should I rather say.
Absolutely. Without the younger generation coming on board, they're in trouble because people are getting older.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's a good thing. I mean, we love Daniel Craig too. I think he was terrific as Bond. In the beginning, there was a lot of criticism. A blonde, blue-eyed Bond, blah, 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 all the purists from the Fleming novels and so on. But he did a terrific job every step of the way. Humanized Bond, which he's not Batman, he's not Superman, he's a human being, and Craig portrays Bond like that. It was great. He was terrific. So we like him too.
Great.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you so much, Brigitte, for joining us today. This has been awesome. It's been so much fun. A pleasure for us. Thank you.
So much. I had a great time. It was lovely talking to you. Yeah. Great job. Thanks to Spy Movie Navigator, Dan and Tom. I had a wonderful time.
Thanks. Thank you so much. All right. If you'd like more info on Brigitte Millar, you can check out her website at BrigitteMillar.com. That's BrigitteMillar. BrigitteMillar.com. This has been Dan Silvestri
and Tom Pizzato
and Brigitte Millar
of SpyMovieNavigator.com and our show, Cracking the Code of Spy Movies. Remember, please subscribe to our show right now. Hit that subscribe button. Check out our videos on our Cracking the Code of Spy Movies channel on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And we welcome you to join our Facebook group, the worldwide community of spy movie fans. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it.